There are many buttons on the purchase order form that allow you to view additional details or modify various information about the purchase order. For example, you can change the delivery address, set up a delivery schedule if all of the items are to be received in intervals, or add charges to the order. Let's open AX and take a look at how to perform some of these actions. We'll go back to Procurement and Sourcing and select the purchase order that we just created. Underneath Common, and then All Purchase Orders. Here you can see the purchase order that we created, so we'll click the Edit button to modify it. This particular purchase order has several different lines. Let's say I want to have the HDMI cables here delivered to a different address. I can go down to the Line Details tab and modify the address on just one line of the order. So with the HDMI cables line selected, I click the Line Details tab and then go to the Address tab. If an address already exists, I can use the drop-down box to select the address where I want them to be sent. So for example, instead of sending them to the main street, I want to send them to the Coffee Street address, so I select that address from the list. If the address I want is not available in the drop-down box, I can use the search icon next to the drop-down to search for any address in my entire system, or use the plus button to add a new address with any details that you want. Next, I'll show you how to add a delivery schedule. I'll use the sound bars for this example. Let's say I want the sound bars to be delivered 25 each week for the next 4 weeks, instead of receiving all 100 of them together. Using the Purchase Order Line button, I can select the Delivery Schedule option from the drop-down. This will open a new screen where I can type in the quantities that I want to be delivered and select the dates. So the first ones will have delivered on Friday the 3rd. I'll add a second line for 25 of these to be delivered on Friday the 10th. I'm just receiving messages that the particular vendor I'm using is not authorized. It's just a warning, so I'm going to close that message each time I receive it. And the last 25 will be received 1 week later. Now that I've finished creating my delivery schedule, I click OK, and AX will expand and put these details on the line of my purchase order. You'll notice the original line is still there with a quantity of 100. If you look at the type icon over on the left and hover over it, you can see this is a line delivery type with multiple deliveries. If you select one of the other lines, such as the first delivery, you'll notice that the line delivery type is called Delivery Line. The other 3 lines, which do not contain a delivery schedule, have a delivery type called Order Line with Single Delivery. Next, I'll show you how we can add charges to an order. Charges can be added to the header or to each line of the order. For my example, I'm going to add them to the header of the order. This is done on the Purchase tab in the Action pane, and then click Maintain Charges in the Charges group. For my example, I'll add a freight charge. I'll select the charges code from the drop-down box called Freight, and then type the amount. When I close the window, the freight charges are added to the order. Now, if I wanted to allocate that charge to each of the lines, I can use the Allocate Charges button to spread the amount of the $200 of freight to each of the lines. I'm going to choose to take the net amount and allocate it to all lines, and click Allocate. Now the charges have been allocated to each of the lines. If I were to highlight a specific line, I can click the Purchase Order line, the Financials button, and then Maintain Charges to view the charges that have been allocated to each of the lines. Next, I'll show you how to view the totals. You'll notice over on the right there's a fact box called Totals. This fact box does not refresh automatically, so you must click the refresh button to view the latest information each time you modify it. Here you can see the total is $1,016.60. This is expressed in Canadian dollars. You can also use the Totals button on the Purchase Order tab of the Action pane to view the totals. When you click this button, the totals are always viewed in real time. The same information will be displayed here, but there is some additional information that can be viewed by using the Total button, such as a total quantity, weight, and volume information. This information is only available if the items on your order have been set up with the weight information and volume information. If the vendor you're using has a credit limit, you'd be able to see the credit limit information here. And if there's prepayments on the order, you can see the additional prepayment information. The fields on the right mirror the exact same fields that you see in the fact box on the purchase order form. After you've created purchase order and entered all the details, you can be processing. I'll talk more about that in the next lesson.